Pretty bad. Unbelievable. And I actually heard, it was funny listening on the way up, listening to David Jeremiah, and he was talking about that. And I said, because I was actually going to kind of hit on Noah today. The days of Noah were considered so wicked, right, like really bad, to the point where God just said, you know what, I had enough, right? And we all know the story. He built the ark representing salvation, and he flooded the earth. But yet, 8 people came out of that wicked time, right? So when you think about it, we as a creation, for all intents and purposes, had a fresh new start. But then somewhere down life's road, it all started going bad again, right? So when you think about the origin of where we are with so many of today's faith and all these religions and all this stuff and these beliefs and all these different things, it really does kind of go back to that period of time after the flood. So if you turn over to, I want y'all to take some notes. I was going to have some printouts, which I'll hopefully be able to print them out for you next week. But because I don't use my printer that much, all my ink dried up on me. Both of them, for that matter. But turn to the 10th chapter of Genesis. And mainly, I'm not going to have a whole lot of explanation on these verses. I just want to use it as a reference point so that no one says Troy's making anything up. So the 10th chapter of Genesis, looking at the 5th verse. 10th chapter of Genesis, looking at the 5th verse. Now, in this 5th verse, it says this. It says, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, and their nations. So really, in that first verse, it says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. So when you think about that restarting point, so to speak, that we had after the flood, when all was let loose, the land was dry, and now these generations are repopulating again from these sons, right? These 3 sons. These were believers in Christ. Obviously, they got on the ship. But from that, the land, the earth, started being repopulated all over again. Now, in the 8th verse of that same chapter, it says, and Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. Nimrod was this king. He's a descendant of Noah. Noah is his grandfather. But Nimrod was a nincompoop. Right? That's where we get the word from. Nincompoop. From Nimrod. Nimrod means rebellious. It means valiant. He was a mighty, what does it say? He was mighty one. He was a mighty one on the earth. Nimrod wanted to be God. He had this tower called Babel that he built. Babel meaning confusion. And Babylon ultimately came from that. Terry knows her stuff, right? So Babylon came from that. All this confusion came from Nimrod. So why is that important to understand? It's important to understand that when after the flood, all this stuff just kind of happened, all these generations started repopulating the earth all over again, evil was always and will always be present until God wipes it out totally. It was present in the garden before man even took one breath. And it's present after the flood. So sin is always present. Alright? And I'm saying this for a reason, because I mainly want to try to get you to understand the origin and the history. I'm somewhat of a historian. And I like the history behind stuff. Because it really, to me, it makes sense. So, with that being said, Nimrod had his own thing. And as we all know, I don't know if you know the story of Nimrod, but real quick, Nimrod was basically, had all these people essentially trying to worship in this Tower of Babel and all these different things, this kingdom called Babel. And next thing you know, God switched, he changed up the languages. So no one knew what the other was talking about. Like, what did you just say? Now you're speaking in this language. Now you're speaking in this language. And they all kind of went their own ways. Right? But with those own ways went their own thoughts as the earth was being populated. Make sense? So then, and skipping over to, I'm trying to rush through some of this. Skipping over to the 16th chapter of Genesis. Now, this is starting to talk about Abraham. Many of us already know and or maybe suspect that Islam was considered, was started by Abraham's firstborn son, as far as being first, from Ishmael, right? So everybody goes back to Ishmael. And I've been doing a lot of research on this over the last few weeks. And believe it or not, most Muslims consider Abraham a prophet. They actually put Abraham, Father Abraham, as they claim Abraham to be their own. Right? I don't know if you knew that or not. But they claim because father of Ishmael, firstborn, and Isaac being the secondborn. Right? So in this 16th chapter, you can read through it, and it tells the story about Abraham's wife Sarah was barren and all these different things.